So today's Chiro Chats is with a wonderful chiropractor in Sydney, Australia. Dr. Therese is a BGI practitioner. She teaches BGI. She also is very involved in the BGI community. And what really caught my attention about Dr. Therese was that I saw that on Facebook during this period she had been doing these special classes for BGI people, BGI students and BGI chiropractors. And they were really gaining momentum. And I'm loving this idea about during this time we are sharing between each other and sharing within our community. So as I started to dig deep and find out a little bit more information about her, I went into the Dr. Therese rabbit hole. And I also saw that she's doing some amazing things like online visits and things like that, all before COVID had even been thought of. So I hope you like this interview with her. She's in a wonderful place in Sydney. So if it's not even just listening, just have a look at the background. Thanks, guys. So tell me a little bit about, you're a BGI practitioner in Australia.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am. So, okay, where do we start, Erin? Okay, so I'm a chiropractor.
Good.
And how I got into, can I tell you how I got into chiropractic to tell you how I got into BGI?
Please do.
So I didn't know what chiropractors did at all. I went and booked myself in through a series of events, as you know would happen.
Mm-hmm.
And as I received the first adjustment, I had this realization, and the realization was like something awoke in my body. And the realization was that I was responsible for my thoughts, I was responsible for my actions, and I was actually responsible for my body. I get off the table, I have this big smile, big grin on my face, Erin, and I'm like, wow, this is a gift and I need to pass it on, because I had never felt something so beautiful before. So I enrolled myself into chiropractic school, right?
Good for you.
So
how brave.
I go to chiropractic school, and that's totally different. And what I was wanting to hear was what I experienced on the table. Like I was really wanting to hear scientifically what I experienced on the table, and I didn't find I was getting that at uni. And so whenever speakers would come into town, I would go and listen. And who came into town was Sue Brown. And Sue Brown taught the potential energy theory of subluxation in addition to all the contemporary science. And I started attending the BGI biogeometric integration seminars, and loved it so much that I have continued with it. And so that makes me a practitioner who applies the concepts, and I love the community. And I thought, it's COVID, like everyone really, people are doing things online, and the community really wants to connect. And I had actually just spent, Erin, I spent like from September to October, I was actually in Barcelona, some time out. So I got to connect with a lot of chiropractors and students there.
Yeah.
And then I went, hold on, this is awesome. Everyone's at home, they're at lockdown. So we rolled out 12 classrooms. We had like over 240 people register. We had over 150 actually come into the classroom, and we had a lot of people who were replaying. So there we go.
Isn't it
That's
great?
How it all happened.
And so what were you doing in the classroom? What were you teaching? How do you teach BGI online?
Okay, so there's the art, science, and philosophy of chiropractic, right? So it went from originally the classroom was just for practitioners, so we can really kind of get nerdy and talk about, clear up some stuff from seminars. But then what we noticed was there were so many people that were interested that hadn't been to a seminar, so we were actually just talking philosophy and bringing the community together. So the first classroom, Erin, was have you ever taken a BGI seminar before?
Yes, I have.
Beautiful. So we know we're talking about the geometry, right? And we know the geometry on a macroscopic to a microscopic level is the same. And we know about the fractals and what we see in nature, as we have behind me in this beautiful setting.
Beautiful.
And so one of the things is sometimes we get lost. Well, what is geometry? Like, how do you actually communicate this to your clients? And what was really awesome is I have a dear friend of mine, he's named Jane108, and he actually teaches sacred geometry. So if you ever attend his workshops or look him up online, he will teach you the mathematical equation and how patterns come from that. So essentially, geometry is art form for him. And so we actually had him on, and people loved him. They were like, Therese, that was the best thing. It cleared up so many questions that I had. So the first lesson was that.
Great.
Then we actually started talking about the posterior geometry, so about your physicality. You know, when a client comes in and you can, things where are purely structural, or we need to start in that structure, our foundation. We talked about more about that, how those presentations were. Then we have a lot of amazing teachers in the BGI community. So I'm like, hey, you need to come on this call. So we had Eric Rubin, we had Katina Manning, we had Luke Coletto. We had Elizabeth, we had BGI HQ, we had Marsha and Jacqueline. So we had a whole spectrum. And one of the things is, I think people think chiropractic needs to look at a particular way, or we need to act a certain way, or, you know, we need to do these touches a particular way. And it's not. Like, people have different ways they express, different ways they do things, different ways they adjust. And it was about bringing that together. And it's actually understanding that the art, it's actually the mastery of you. It's the mastery of you as a practitioner. So that's what we discussed in the
schools. And I saw that from your Facebook page too, that from that you're developing like a mentor program too, to help students or help new practitioners get out there.
So what we got from that, because we'd ask every time, it's like, well, what do you guys need, right? And people were wanting mentorship. We're like, this is awesome. There's an actual mentor program. So we had chiropractors who wanted mentoring, and we had students. So what we're doing now is, for the next 2 months, fortnightly, anyone can actually hop on. You don't have to be a BGI practitioner at all. But if you're interested in the concepts of BGI, you can hop on, and there are mentors throughout around the world through the beautiful community. So, and it actually goes through, I think the first lesson starts off with the potential energy theory of subluxation, and there's particular things that it'll actually go through.
Okay, great. And then as I started to stalk you a little bit, and
you mean investigating?
Who's this girl? You know, what's going on here? I was looking at your website, and I actually was really impressed that on your website you can book your appointments for your adjustments, you can buy your adjustment packs there, and that you can do an online consultation. So I've noticed that during this period, this has definitely been a question that a lot of chiropractors have had. Can you take chiropractic online? And I thought it would be interesting to ask you your experience with this, because you were doing this before COVID. So have you found that the people actually like that it is actually a service that you could offer?
Yeah, well, let's go back. So it's an online health consult. Okay. So we are health practitioners. We are chiropractors. And I have put a YouTube up. I've actually done about online health consults. And one of the things is, we have actually a wealth of knowledge. Like, if I ask you, how many nutrition seminars have you been to? Plenty, right, Erin?
Yes.
And how many neuro rehab? So we actually have a lot of wealth of information. And one of the things for me, why I started, sorry, I kind of go off track, so I'll bring you back in. I kind of go on journeys. So 5 years ago, I moved from Sydney. I relocated to Brisbane, and I started practicing in my clinic in Brisbane. And then I had clients from Sydney coming up. And then one of them said, Therese, can you do an online consult? I'm thinking, oh, like, what am I going to do? And I'm like, well, and I thought, I'm like, we're hands-on, okay? We are hands-on, like, I adjust. And then I went, okay, well, hold on, what do you want? Because I'm thinking, she's clearly seeing something or experiencing something that I'm not. And she said, I love your coaching. And I'm thinking, coaching? I don't do coaching. But what I found was, you know, sometimes after an adjustment, you may say something, or there's a beautiful space that's opened, and you really have a connection with someone, or there's a heart to heart, and something is said. And don't forget, our language is different to their day-to-day language. And so that's what she was actually after. And I went, oh, wow, that's actually something beautiful. And there's something there if people are searching for it. So I started with an online consult. It was like, well, what do you want to work with? And it was clearly, you can literally have a conversation with someone and start to note out some things, whether it be setting some goals, whether it be talking about nutrition, whether it be doing some, you know, rehab exercises. They're things that you can do. So that's how I actually started.
Well, if you think about
that's how it started.
Great. If you think about it, like even right now, you did this school series to learn BGI. It could be have the same question saying, can you go to a chiropractic seminar, or can you learn something about a technique without actually being physically in a room with other people?
And as you've seen, yes, you can learn a lot. Yes, the adjustment is important. The physical part is extremely important. But an adjustment isn't just that. No, the adjustment is the energy you bring, the words you say. And so you could also transmit that in a consultation, I imagine, for your patients or your clients. Definitely.
One of the things I will say is, it's like, even though the BGI classroom has gone virtually for the moment, there is something special being all together and that hands-on, and all the online consults I've done, they have been, it started off with all the people that I have worked with, and then it's referrals. So for me, it's, if I say, like, I don't think anything takes away from being, you know, but in being in that physical space and having that experience. And at the same time, there are things that we can do that is like this, like even connecting with you. It's actually really, really beautiful. Like, I'm connecting with you all the way from here. You're in Barcelona, I'm here, and then but then it would be all, again, so totally different. If I was actually sitting across from you, maybe sharing, I don't know, some oysters or a coffee, and that would be a different experience again.
Yeah. So now that are you back in practice now? Are you things sort of back in practice physically?
Yeah. So Australia was always back in practice physically.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're asking me personally, I'm kind of on a sabbatical, Erin.
Great.
And but I only practice on Sundays. And my clients say I do Sunday service. And you know, chiropractic is a spiritual practice for me in one way, shape, or form.
There we go.
And so on my sabbatical, Erin, I actually provide Sunday service, and I've just come from it. Okay, so yeah, it's been beautiful.
Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, well, that's great. And so then now, how are you feeling in Australia anyway? I mean, you know, you can only speak from personally there.
Yeah.
How is the community? How are chiropractors? Have they been shaken? Are they got, what's the step forward, do you think, for our community or the BGI community?
So I'll speak there's a couple of questions in there. But first, on the chiropractors have been doing that. Okay, so there's people who decided, you know what, I need some time out, and they took time out, and they took some awesome week or 2 weeks just to refresh. There are other practitioners who are like, this allows me to introduce things that I wasn't being able to, and there are practitioners who've been so busy in this time. For me, my Sundays have just been the same, and I've loved it. So it's been great. There was a week, I am going to say, there was a week in Australia when they were starting to do the lockdowns, and they just closed New Zealand. And I was like, ooh, should I actually close? Because I know people are coming, like I'm still practicing. And then I thought, if I put anyone in danger, I actually don't want to do that, because you just don't know, right?
No.
So, no, but I think everything, so hold on, that's that one. So for the Australia crowd, so there's a mixture, right?
Right.
And then with the BGI community, it's just been beautiful. It's like, yeah, still everything is normal. People are taking some time off. People are loving it. So it's been, it's been interesting. Everyone has had their experience of it in one way, shape, or form. But I do know, for me, being that online, it's just brought a community just so much closer together.
Yeah. Well, I could just, as you're saying that, I remember I went to a BGI seminar with Sue, and she had the ball and explaining the geometry and the tension. And I just said, well, that's sort of what happens. There's a bit of pressure, but we keep it all together, and we can adapt, you know?
Yeah. Oh, that is beautiful. Did you, if you don't mind me asking, Erin, did you do that here in Australia, or was that in Europe?
In Europe.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, look, could you just do me one more little favor before we leave? Could you just show us a little bit about where you are? It looks so lovely.
Okay.
And
everyone,
and so open. I love those Australian skies.
Okay, so I thought I'd come, instead of like being in clinic and having a bit of a boring background. Hold on, let me go this way.
So tell us where you are.
Okay, so I'm in Sydney, Australia, and I am in a beach called Coogee. And it is just, and I thought I'd be here on my own. It'd be, you know, really quiet. But I think this whole, the COVID restrictions are lifted. So if you see the beach, it's packed. There are people everywhere. And I don't know, can you still see the paddleboarder there, Erin? Can you see that?
At the far distance, yes, I can see it.
Yeah.
It actually, it just looks beautiful. I love the blue skies and the blue water. And
oh, look at that.
Yeah.
That's stunning. Yeah, so that's where I am.
Great. Well, Therese, thank you. Thank you so much. Please, anybody who's taken the time to listen to this call, please go and check her out. If you're interested in BGI at all, please go and have a look at the school videos too. And if you could help out with the mentoring, I think that's amazing too, you know?
Yeah.
So thank you.
I'll just, can I just tell people how to go on? We've actually got the BGI Virtual Classroom. It's a private Facebook group. So if you want to watch any of the replays, you can just hop on there.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for coming and going to that beautiful place to do this interview too.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Erin.
Bye.
Bye-bye.